What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTV Ravens Media, bringing you Ravens content every single day. If you want to see that daily Ravens content, make sure the subscribe button down below. Hit the notification bell as well if you guys want to get notified every single time I upload a brand new video. Now, in this video today, I'm going to be talking, obviously, about the Ravens' victory against the Cincinnati Bengals. If you want more in-depth stuff, Joshua and I, went live after the game. So if you guys want to check out that live stream, and we'll be recording our podcast tomorrow. But the biggest thing that I want to talk about, there's a lot of things to talk about in that game. The biggest thing I want to talk about is Marcus Williams and that injury and how it's going to impact the Ravens and how the Ravens dealt with it in the game. If you didn't know, Marcus Williams is going to be put on IR with a dislocated wrist. It's not a season-ending injury. He will miss significant time, but he will be back. First off, that sounds like a terrible injury to have. That does not sound comfortable at all. But in the game, what happened is he comes out, and it wasn't Kyle Hamilton that was the guy that came in. Instead, Geno Stone was the one playing free safety for the Baltimore Ravens. So let me know in the comment section down below, was that the right call? Was Geno Stone the right guy to put in that situation? In my personal opinion, absolutely. And I am a huge fan of Kyle Hamilton. All right. There are a lot of people that are like, oh, the Ravens shouldn't have taken Kyle Hamilton. No. I love the draft selection of Kyle Hamilton. However, Kyle Hamilton is a very different player from Marcus Williams. The most similar player to Marcus Williams on the Ravens depth chart on the Ravens roster is Geno Stone. He is a ball-hawking free safety. So Marcus Williams goes out, Geno Stone is able to step in because that's the backup. That's the backup for that spot. Kyle Hamilton is a strong safety that's going to play underneath, play on the box, be in sets where he is covering tight ends, which Marcus Williams doesn't traditionally do. It's Chuck Clark and it's Kyle Hamilton. Those are the safeties that are going to be guarding the tight ends. Those are the safeties that'll drop down and cover those players, that'll drop down into the box, that'll blitz. Now, why is it that they do that? That's because of their size and their skill set. Kyle Hamilton, as it stands right now, is a better football player than Geno Stone. But the packages that suit him best, he is not playing in the Marcus Williams spot. Instead, he is playing where he has been playing, which is the nickel safety. And the reason why he's not getting more playing time is because Chuck Clark is here. And Chuck Clark has the mic, so it's hard to get Chuck Clark to come out of the game because you're going to be missing, your main signal caller. So Kyle Hamilton instead is coming in situations and replacing Patrick Queen. He's replacing corners. He was replacing, sometimes they'll replace an edge rusher with a defensive back. A lot of different ways that they're able to replace him. That's when Kyle Hamilton comes in. Kyle Hamilton, as it stands right now, is a nickel and dime and extra defensive back type of player. I would love for him to be out there every play. I think he is good enough to be out there every play. I know a lot of people have been criticizing his play. Kyle Hamilton is one of the best graded safeties in the NFL by PFF. He looks very good out there. Yeah, he had a pass interference call against it was against Hayden Hurst, I believe it was. Yeah, that was like the only thing that happened to him that was bad in that game. He has forced incompletions. He's had big hits. He's missed 1-2 tackles or so, but he's also had some big hits. So there's too many people saying oh, Kyle Hamilton can't do this. No. Last week, Kyle Hamilton played amazing. This week, Kyle Hamilton played all right. It wasn't terrible by any means. But Geno Stone is a different player. That's a different mold right there, because a lot of people will look at that and be like, oh, well, Geno Stone they play different positions. All right, because Geno Stone isn't going to be asked to play in the box. That's what Kyle Hamilton is going to be asked to do. So when do you want those guys out there? You need to make sure that you are getting him ready because he's playing a difficult position. Being that hybrid type of player, that inside-outside guy is very different. Geno Stone is 5'11", 209 pounds. Kyle Hamilton is, I don't know his weight, but I know he's 6'4". I would guess he's around 230. That's a major difference right there. And Geno Stone, again, is a ball hawk. Someone in the stream called him the preseason interceptions leader, which honestly is probably true. But like Marcus Williams is not Kyle Hamilton. They're a very different player. He's 6'1". He's got good size, but he is a true roamer. He is a complete true roamer. He's a good tackler. Don't get me wrong. He's much better than a lot of other roaming safeties when it comes to tackling. He's a good tackler. But again, when you think about it, when you think about this Ravens depth chart, free safety and single high safety is very different from hybrid box safety, which is currently what the Ravens seem to be playing. Well, it's more like he doesn't play like box, like true box, true, sub linebacker. He comes in and he plays close to the line of scrimmage. That's typically what he's doing. That's very different. That is very, very different in terms of how you have to play that. And he's played single high, but Geno Stone has also played single high. And the way that his gameplay matches up, I think, better with Marcus Williams than Kyle Hamilton does. I think Kyle Hamilton is too different to be able to go, from Mike Macdonald's perspective. If he's looking at this roster, yes, Kyle Hamilton is better, but Kyle Hamilton's still going to be on the field in a lot of situations with Marcus Williams out. And I'm sure over time we'll see more and more of Kyle Hamilton as they're kind of going to be transitioning him to like kind of replace Marcus Williams for a little bit. But if you're looking at it, you're like, hey, our defense has been really good the last 2 weeks, which it has. They held the Buffalo Bills to 23. They held the Cincinnati Bengals to, 17. That is fantastic. Those teams, you wouldn't be surprised if they scored 40 in a week, and they held, them to a combined 40 points in 2 weeks. So they've been playing very well. You want to be able to call the same defense. And how do you call the same defense? You have players replacing players that can play that role and are fit for that role. That role is designed for their play style. Geno Stone is designed for Marcus Williams' play style and the way that the free safety position is called in the Ravens defense as it stands right now. That, I believe, is why Geno Stone replaced Marcus Williams after the injury. I don't think it had anything to do with, Kyle Hamilton hasn't been good. No. Kyle Hamilton has been very good. He just plays a very different style of football than Marcus Williams does. And so, yes, they're both safeties, but it's not the same. It's like getting upset. Here's the best comparison I can say. Say Marcus Peters goes down with an injury. Knock on wood. Hopefully it doesn't happen. You don't want your slot corner to replace him. You want your best outside corner to replace him, right? So rather than sending out, the Ravens don't have a true slot corner right now. But it's Pepe Williams has been our slot corner recently. It seems like that's who I've been seeing the most in that spot. Pepe Williams can't actually play outside. The Ravens aren't a very good example of this, but some teams, they have like true slot corners, right? Like Tavon Young. We'll say Tavon Young, former Raven. You don't want Tavon Young replacing Marcus Peters. Why? Because he can't play on the outside. That's not his skill set. He's a very good player. He's probably better than I think Tavon Young is better than Brandon Stevens, right? At the cornerback position. As a football player, he's better. But Brandon Stevens is a better outside corner. It's the same thing with Kyle Hamilton and Geno Stone. Kyle Hamilton's a better player, but in the role that Marcus Williams is playing, I think Geno Stone fits it better. It's a better fit. Like that's kind of my take on it. I saw way too many people, I feel like, that were upset about it. Obviously, we want to see our rookies. We want to see Kyle Hamilton ball out. But we don't want to put him in situations where he's not as prepared for, because that's not what he's practicing for. You look at the future of the Baltimore Ravens, the goal is not to have Kyle Hamilton as the free safety. That is why we signed Marcus Williams. He's supposed to be the free safety. Kyle Hamilton is supposed to be the strong safety. That's my thoughts on it. Let me know if you disagree, if you agree. But I'm also a big fan of Geno Stone. Hopefully he's able to play. Hopefully he's able to, get some big time plays, because that's what he does. He gets picks. He makes plays. He's a playmaker. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Subscribe for Daily Ravens content, and I'll see all of you again tomorrow.